Sometimes it takes a virus to end the virus of blame game and finger pointing. Omicron has, in effect, flatlined opinion and especially liberal discourse all over the world, which is always in harness to blame individuals and governments for sins of omission and commission, how well or badly they are battling the epidemic. It goes without saying that Trump in his earlier avatar and the Brazilian President Bolsonaro and of course Prime Minister Modi were the three men whose faces were pinned on the dartboard for the entire liberal community at home and abroad to take pot shots at. The same community did not blame Chinese President Xi Jinping with the same fervor for the initial alpha variant spread all over the world as they blamed Modi for the havoc caused by the Delta. Leaving aside for the moment the partiality of this community for the Chinese policymakers, what really is puzzling is why the same worldwide lobby has not been shrill in blaming South Africa and its leaders for the identification of Omicron, especially as it has the terrifying potential of quickly spreading all over the world. I will help resolve that puzzle in a moment. But let me first welcome all friends to the CAA show. CAA is, of course, Conversations and Analysis, and my name is Juggi Bhasin. So, to crack the puzzle, understand the workings of the liberal mind. According to this thinking, matters of health, the spread and decline of epidemics, the issue of vaccinating and boosting people is not looked under the lens of saving human lives and finding scientific solutions to stop the epidemic. Rather, the priority is creating a narrative of mismanagement and callousness against individuals and governments which do not subscribe to the liberal thought. Keeping that in mind, let us go back to the time when the rising graph of deaths under the Trump administration were blamed squarely on Trump. Television airwaves became saturated with the speaking blunders of Trump, never mind the fact that powerful vaccines to combat COVID were introduced in a remarkable time under his administration. The hatred for Trump overshadowed the fact that exemplary scientific work had been done in the US to bring vaccines that would fight the epidemic. Mr. Trump did eventually become a victim of his own hubris, but the epidemic did not disappear when the Biden administration took over. Death rates continued to rise, as did the overall infection levels. But this time, the television cameras were not back to haunt ICUs or give saturated coverage pillaring the government. Blame it all on the unvaccinated, who in any case were right-wing. The sad and the real truth is that the epidemic does not distinguish between opposing politics and specious narratives. Only science can defeat it. Politics can't. But this lesson was lost on the liberals who rode worldwide in unison, sending their cameras to our ICUs, desecrated our cremation grounds when Delta variant struck India. Modi was pilloried pillar to post, and television anchors and social media outlets went berserk to win the most gruesome awards by showing burning pyres, patients gasping for oxygen. Any sense of balance or discretion or objectivity was thrown to the winds. The liberals were quite literally out baying for Modi's blood. And so, in the changing hues of the epidemic, it again struck with the Omicron variant in South Africa. European countries and the US initially shut their borders to South Africa, but it was of no use. The variant still spread and continues its march across territories and geographies. But strangely, the vicious blame game is absent this time. Is it because the variant is less lethal? No, not really. The reason lies elsewhere. In the liberal worldview, South Africa can never be right-wing redneck America or Hindutva India under its Hindu icon Modi. And so, as Omicron spread, we saw a remarkable narrative emerge. South African doctor Dr. Angelique Coetzee became the favorite doctor of the world, replacing Dr. Fauci. South Africa showed the world how to deal with a new variant. Personally, I also believe that South Africa has thrown the light on how to fight the epidemic. But we are here talking of the liberal response. And the liberal response is, in a strange way, a bit like McCarthyism. Either you are with us or you are against us. There has to be an enemy in the liberal worldview to reinforce the us versus them argument. Currently, it can't be Modi and India because after the stutter in the government during the Delta phase, the government has found its feet and done a remarkable job in fully vaccinating more than 70% Indians. Think about it. These are not nasal drop vaccinations. These are injectable vaccines for crores and crores of people. By any stretch of the imagination, it is a remarkable world feat. The sheer effort of this feat, the scale of the logistics involved takes the breath away. So, Modi, at least for now, can't be criticized. So who else can be on the radar for the liberals? Well, bring in Boris Johnson then. So for some comical and trivial act of landing up at a drink party, the British Prime Minister currently is being roasted by the liberals with the same venom they got after Modi during the Delta phase. Fact of life is that the liberals require an enemy to justify what they say or do. If there is no enemy, then one will have to be invented. And thankfully, besides Johnson, the liberal guns are silent in other parts of the world. All viruses are bad, but maybe in some small measure, we might end up by being a little grateful to the Omicron variant if it ushers in herd immunity, but more important, it shuts up this grating, screeching liberal health narratives and bulletins which are broadcast all over the world. So on this note, I come to the end of this particular episode of the CAA show, and I hope you have enjoyed this particular episode. If you like the CAA show, please do subscribe to us. And as you all know, subscription is absolutely free. And on this note, it's goodbye and cheers from my end.